All right, give us a clap. Just talk about whatever you want. Like the whole point is to hear from you guys about what you think about Bitcoin.
When I read that book, what's the book?
Oh, the Little Bitcoin book.
Yeah, when I read the Little Bitcoin book, remember when I finished reading it, I had said, like, this is really beautiful. Like, that was my description, actually, of Bitcoin, like, what it could do for the world. But what was my follow-up question? Like, as a whole, this whole thing is really, really beautiful and what it could do for people. It's like a game changer. But, like, how do you get it going? How do you get it out in the world and have others see that it's beautiful too?
Welcome to Shrinai's Kitchen. Again, happy Bitcoin Pizza Day.
I'm Danielle. I'm married to George. And Bitcoin. It's very confusing.
I'm Sharon. I'm married to Brian. And I like Bitcoin because Brian likes Bitcoin.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm Steven, and I would echo a lot of that. I am all about Bitcoin as freedom. I think it gives hope where there sometimes wasn't hope before, and I'm excited for the future. And that big part of that is because Bitcoin exists.
Yes.
I would be so depressed if Bitcoin didn't exist right now. If I'm being honest, like it would be like things would look bleak. Like Bitcoin is hope. I agree.
So
Wait, push back on that, babe. I know you disagree. That's why we're here, though. That's why we're here to talk about these things. Yeah, I saw the look you got on your face as soon as I said that.
I was just going to ask you what you meant by bleak.
Well, no, it's a good question. I mean, so first of all, what's the unemployment rate?
Simple words.
Like
Simple
unemployment.
words.
People lose their jobs.
Okay.
Okay. So right now we're seeing the highest rate of unemployment. So a higher percentage of people are unemployed right now, more than the Great Depression, right?
True.
Okay, so remember like pictures of the Great Depression growing up where everyone's like lines around the corner to get food or whatever?
Right.
Like that's literally what's happening right now.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is without a practical solution of like, okay, there is a exit plan from this mess. Without that, I think it would be hard to find. Like, things would look very bleak. It would be like, where do we go from here? Like, what do we do now? But with Bitcoin, there is an alternative. There is something that exists, that has existed for 10 years. So things look a little bit less bleak to me.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And the thing that I also pay a lot of attention to is like large scale wars, like the war in the Middle East. And if you think back decades ago, it was like going to war and then ending wars was a really big deal. It was like newspaper headlines and the whole country was involved in thinking about it. And sometimes it was even like voted on among, Congress. And that really doesn't happen anymore. It's just normalized and these wars just happen. And now some people have only ever known that. There are young people who have only been alive the whole time that this ongoing war on terror has been happening. And so regardless of whether anyone agrees with the reasons for the wars themselves, just the fact that they can go on forever because there's this unlimited supply of money to fund them makes like less incentive for us to think about whether they should end. And I think Bitcoin is a good way to help fight back against that a little bit.
There's so many good things on paper that you read about Bitcoin. You're like, yep, I'm on board with all of it. But my question a couple weeks ago was just like, how does it help me like right now? Like me personally.
Yeah, I mean, the right now is, I think Bitcoin's a lot easier if you do get focused on kind of the long-term, like grand visions for it. But when you just zoom into the how does it help you today, I think it's a powerful way to protect savings. So if you buy Bitcoin today, then that is something that you can have and you can control in a way that doesn't really apply to any other asset. There are, if you own bars of gold, then maybe you have more control over that than dollars in a bank account, but it's still harder for someone to take Bitcoin from you than gold. Someone can come and seize your gold, and Bitcoin gives the defender, the individual, this level of power that they've never really had before in any time that we've been alive.
Ben, remember in the Mandibles when they came and they took the gold? And
Yeah.
they were ripping up the house?
Right.
Can't do that Bitcoin.
You read them? Have you guys read The Mandibles?
I haven't.
Oh, guys.
Yes.
It's
Required
very
reading.
dystopian, and it will kind of freak you out, especially during these COVID times. But it is eye-opening.
Mm-hmm. And it paints a very bleak picture.
Bleak is the keyword.
Yeah, so with the whole we've been told the dollar causes war, and we've been told that like the dollar causes bad things. People know that. Relatively. If you're hearing that for the first time, surprise. We will like dive down into that. But I actually don't think people, as the majority of people, need that precursor, which has been kind of a light bulb for me recently. Because what would happen, because when people would say like, how does it help me now? I would like go into my whole hard money versus soft money speech and all this stuff. Like, and I realized that I was still hitting this like, now what? Like thing. And so that like, and this is weird. Like this, I'm truly like getting into this right now.
I broke your fridge.
That it's fine.
This is gonna be great.
It's fine.
Oh, it'll go back.
Bitcoin fixes this.
Wait, I heard Bitcoin fixes everything, so don't worry
You're
about
fine.
it.
George says that over everything.
Just leave it.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
Totally ruined your train of thought.
No.
That's all I want to hear.
Just leave it.
I'm sorry.
But because the main thing,
That's totally fine.
like, how does it help me now? Bitcoin. It was worth it.
Cheers. Happy Bitcoin today. Sorry.
Cheers.
Standing in the shop.
Cheers. Anymore. Like I don't feel good about what's happening, and I want to find answers for the literal questions that my friends are asking. I don't want to give the main like cookie cutter advice, and I don't think any of us like want to. And so that's what I think is cool of us like trying to intentionally do that. And here's what's weird. At the same time, when people started asking me, like when Danielle started asking me, how does it help me now? I realized that like, people that have been around Bitcoin for a while are like asking the same thing. So it's like new people and old people are asking the same question, which makes me think that is like the new greenfield, like to pursue is the how does it help me now thing. So, and Bitcoin Pizza Day provides us like in like really great example because it talks about Bitcoin being used in commerce. Like it's a great, so who wants to explain what Bitcoin Pizza Day is? Who wants to tell Laszlo's story?
I was just gonna ask what Bitcoin Pizza Day was.
Perfect.
Do you know?
Probably
I can't tell the story from the beginning.
Just wing it.
The
What do you think of it?
day a
I think
man
I remember.
bought pizza with Bitcoin.
At Papa John's.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even know at Papa John's, and it was a lot of I mean, it wasn't a lot of Bitcoin at the time, but essentially it was like whatever 5 Bitcoin, and it costs way more now.
It's like the reverse of that.
I
Like,
love that.
but
She
relatively.
said 5 Bitcoin. That was awesome.
Wasn't it 10,000?
10,000. Can you imagine though? 5 would be ridiculous, right?
Well,
Right, so was it dumb or was it not? Does it sound dumb or not dumb?
I mean,
sounds dumb.
What's on some now?
Why? Right.
Why would you spend 10,000 Bitcoin on a pizza?
Right?
Because the person got it with like nothing.
yeah, how much was it back then? $25?
It was about $40 back then for 10,000 Bitcoin.
But here's the thing, USD runs the world. Everything is based on USD. Like, I just don't fathom seeing getting rid of it.
We're gonna jump there.
Yeah.
Forget about the pizza day. Danielle's ready. Let's just
Because, people want the
Sorry.
answer. Like people are ready. It's not cutesy.
We walk around talking about Bitcoin and we have family that are just like thinking we're off our rocker because USD is where it's at. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, it might be going somewhere.
It's going down.
But it is hard to conceptualize USD going.
Yes. Yes.
That is very true. 'Cause
It's
all
like the
we've
Roman
ever-
Empire. You can't conceive it falling
Totally. Yeah, it's all we've ever known, right?
until it might fall. But then I have questions about that. Like, so we're just like buying Bitcoin for like the someday it might, you know, I feel like at some level we're wasting our fiat because we need the fiat too, because that's how we're living. That's how you pay mortgages and you buy groceries and
Right.
So you see the miss?
Like, what if it doesn't fall? What if you
What
buy
if it doesn't?
Well, it doesn't fall in our lifetime.
Yeah. What if you just buy all this
Like,
Bitcoin and then
yeah.
fiat? Like,
And then what, you leave it to someone who might not be responsible with your keys?
And then in like 20 years, we're just having the same discussion.
Yeah.
Bitcoin pizza day, and we're like,
Or
someday.
it's like their kids
Yeah.
having the discussion.
I
Exactly.
think that's a fair question.
You're making like a part of your life's work about Bitcoin
Mhm.
and making it known and understandable,
Yeah.
and then it just doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Now you look even more crazy.
So yeah, so I think the mindset I take is, I don't think that's really an option. Like, we live in times where something needs to happen. Like, I've gotten to the point where I'm actually like just really fed up with what's happening. Like,
Right. I would
there's
agree.
so much. It's just overwhelming. We've become desensitized to it. We're numb to the corruption and the injustice, and it's just like something has to change. So to me, Bitcoin is a solution. So if I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like, I see all this, like, and so I reach for Bitcoin because it's like that is a practical way for me to enact change, to envision a better world that I'm going to leave to my kids. And so that to me is doing something about the problem. I can't control the price, right? Like, and to me, the price, like, if the price doesn't go above a new all-time highs, let's say, there's actually, to me, still a benefit in using Bitcoin today. Let's say it stays at $10,000 USD. Well, you know what? I still have X number of Satoshis no matter what. 1 BTC equals 1 BTC forever and ever.
That's true.
So if we can create, that's why this idea of the circular economy is so important, because really it doesn't matter what the price does. What matters is who opts out of the current system and says, this is the money I'm choosing. This is better money. We control it. We don't, fund these wars. And,
But I would like to use that money for like maybe to buy a house or to go to the grocery store or use it for gas.
right.
Or my kids just hit a growth spurt again, and and I know there's Fold.
Yep.
Shout out to Fold. Thanks for all you've done so far. Where's Target?
Waiting.
So,
Still waiting.
and then what happens? And we're trying to speak to two audiences right now. We're like, the literal point of this exercise is to point out, then what happens? Bitcoiners watching right now, then what happens? You know what happens. You give them a long speech about how savings is using. You know that. Each one of you watching right now is doing that in your head. Well, savings is using. Okay, now what?
Not when you're a 38-year-old mom.
Yes, okay, so we save it. We get it. Save outside USD. We get it. Not your keys, not your coins. We get it. Now what? Where do we buy the groceries? I think that is, where do we buy the
My
groceries?
landlord still doesn't accept
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And for the people who are really hurting, for the people who are part of the unemployment group, they're really looking for a way to help their families. And I just don't see that happening. So it's hard to talk about Bitcoin around other people who are really struggling, because to them, it's not going to save them.
Yeah.
That's something actually I really appreciate about Ragnar. He brings that up a lot. He's like, you can't look at someone who's broke and be like, buy Bitcoin, that's the solution. It doesn't fix that.
Yeah.
It just
Right.
doesn't.
It's almost like a slap in the face, because
Yeah.
they're like, dude, I've been
With
working
one
my
money,
ass off.
you're not
I can
listening.
barely afford this.
Yeah.
So too many US Bitcoiners talk about Bitcoin as a savings technology, and they never tell the other side of the story. And the other side of the story, if you read the Bitcoin white paper, a big thing about the Bitcoin white paper is cutting out third parties in transactions. It's supposed to be peer-to-peer money transfer, cutting out third parties.
What in God's name is white paper?
So the first time someone wrote down the idea about Bitcoin, basically
On
pitching.
white paper?
Oh God, I haven't done
Is
that
it like a science thing? I don't know. I have no
A
idea.
white paper is like a research
I have no idea.
piece of paper that has details and scientific
I've never
facts
heard of
about
that
it.
ever, and you guys all say white paper, and I never understand.
Really? I'm so
anything
sorry.
about it.
I failed.
It's like
It's
it's
my
like an
fault.
article. an article is like a
Yeah.
broad term. A white paper.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank
I
you.
need to do a better job.
So when Bitcoin was created, the creator delivered it on a white paper, basically, to the internet. Not a literal piece of white paper,
Oh.
but via email in this nice PDF called a white paper.
So
And
request
Bitcoin-
feedback.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Bitcoin was born.
he like released the idea into the world. Like you
I
like
like
because
this
it wasn't because Bitcoin was this is exciting. Like it was a mathematical this is mathematical and like science step forward for humanity. Like it was physically different. It was physically different.
That's gonna make you excited about this, whether you want to be excited or not.
This is not why it's exciting though.
Excited
The
enough for
science,
both of us.
the science is not why it's exciting. The taking out
Follow me there, Brian.
no, the taking out third parties is why it's exciting. The taking out third
That
parties.
is true.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
I
the
would
take-
agree.
And the taking out third parties is how it helps us.
The fact that it's like yours, no one can see it or have it or steal it,
Yep.
and then if you want to send it to somebody else or you just send it directly to them and there's nobody involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's.
And there's no one behind me printing more of it, making my Bitcoin worthless.
Exactly.
But here's something else that I learned that's interesting too about the gold, because I hear a lot of people say, well, USD is backed by the gold standard. And that is like, that's not true anymore, right?
It was true once upon a time, not anymore.
Like some
A
people
lot of
still
people
think,
still think it's true.
like, oh, this money's worth something because there's basically a gold nugget in the back.
Right.
Right.
Well,
But
that
there's
is weird
not-
how many people still think that.
Yeah, but there's not a gold nugget in the back. It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah. When you hear so many people say, "Oh, that Bitcoin stuff, it's not backed by anything."
Yes,
You have
I
to
hear that
take
a
it
lot.
of like, well, you know, those dollar things, they aren't either. Haven't been in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to think that you used to be able to take a piece of paper and exchange it for gold. Like I would take that deal all day long today, but it's like, it just goes to show you how worthless it is compared to when it was backed by the gold standard.
Yeah. So when governments would get out of control and spend too much, people would start to lose faith in the money, and they would actually take the government up on that offer. They would go and say, "Hey, okay, I'll take the gold because I'm kind of worried about this paper stuff." And once too many people started doing that, then governments stopped.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like a check on their power.
Exactly.
That
So
yeah.
Bitcoin
Never
gives
thought of
us
that.
an unstoppable check on their
Oh.
power. The fact that you can't stop people from buying Bitcoin effectively, maybe you can stop a specific person, but just broadly, like they can't stop people from buying, and they can't effectively take it away once people have it.
Mhm.
So that is a powerful check on government power.
But can't they just put in effect of you can't like use it? So then you're holding on to worthless money anyway because you can't spend it because the government just made a law like, no, you can't use that at the grocery store. You can't use it to buy pizza or.
That's a great question. Yeah. So a lot of the value does come from holding it. So even if they could prevent brick and mortar restaurants like places down the street from accepting Bitcoin, a lot of the value of Bitcoin just does come from people sitting on it and holding it as savings. But also it's really impractical for governments to be able to enforce that type of thing at scale. Like they might be able to stop a coffee shop from taking Bitcoin as payment.
Right.
But so much commerce happens online, and if they really tried to prevent a Bitcoin transaction, that's a difficult thing to do. Like a mind-blowing thought exercise is pretend right now you told the government, you were just like, hey, I am about to send Bitcoin to some sanctioned country, something that should be illegal, some transaction to do, and you just made it known. Or you're like, hey, next week I'm going to do this. They wouldn't be able to stop that. I mean, maybe they could I guess they could go after you specifically, but just in terms of, watching the network or trying to control Bitcoin itself, there's no way that they could stop that money from flowing from you to wherever you want it to be.
Right.
And that's where
That's
the
crazy.
uncensorability, censorship
Right.
resistance of Bitcoin comes in.
I just had like a thought of like this kind of backfiring because it seems to me that Bitcoin seems very enticing to those who maybe don't have a lot of money or you know what I'm saying?
Why is that
And
backfiring?
then, well, because as maybe Bitcoin gets more popular, are the people going to revolt who have money because they're going to see their USD start becoming worthless, and they're the rich ones. They have all the fiat to make the system go around, and they're gonna. Do you see what I'm saying? I feel like this is gonna be like a civil war.
I mean,
Next week on
Sorry, I have a lot
No,
of
right,
questions.
That's a big one.
yeah, I mean, there is such interesting ways that this
I'm
could
so
play
sorry
out.
if you
and-
didn't see it going this way.
No, this is great.
It just popped in my head right
You're asking the
now.
right questions.
Yeah. I mean, nobody knows how the future is going to play out, and there are some ways it could go that seem pretty dystopian and scary in some ways.
Right,
But
like
there
I
are
see a
some
lot of
ways-
people not wanting Bitcoin or
Wanna-
liking Bitcoin just for the sole fact that.
Want to know what I was gonna do? What? Because want to know what you did to me? Like, well, how does it help me now? Want to know? I was gonna do that back to you. Isn't that already happening now? Like that's what, like you know, like we can both just like figure. This is why it's so weird. Like this is. Full disclosure, it's weird. Like it's weird and convoluted and confusing. Like our channel is not. That's a given. Like day one given. That's why we're here. And so that's like, no, that's not a dumb thought. No, that's the exact like point is to like think about what's going to happen in the future. And then what most of that time happens is that trolls then come and ask you and be like, isn't that already happening? And that's when we're all just like, yeah. Like and then we go back to where this whole
Wait,
conversation
how is
started.
it already happening?
The rich people are already revolting against the broke people.
They're trying to make
Like
us
the
all bad.
already like the 1% already like is there's already a 2-tier justice system in the United States.
What was
There's
the-
already
What
rich
was, the,
people.
what was the stat about the pandemic? Rich people getting richer. They earned like $450 million or something just off of the stimulus stuff.
Or yeah,
How?
Well, they just printed a bunch of money and they gave us the
because the
corporation.
can't like because they know the
Got
money
it again.
because they know the money printers. Like they know the money printers.
Literally, they just call them up.
It
Hey, can I get some of
flows.
that?
It flows.
That's
through.
how it works. It's the good old boys club. It's
Well, how do we get into the good old boys?
We don't. We bring the good old boys club to us.
Got it.
That's the killer app of Bitcoin. The killer app of Bitcoin is it brings the good old boys club to us. Bitcoin is for broke people.
right. Yeah.
Like
It's and smart rich people who hedge like their assets.
But aren't they already, like, they're gonna get richer because of Bitcoin?
Probably.
So
But
doesn't that just circulate the same?
I mean, we have to think that there's benevolent rich people and there's rich people who just want to,
Yes.
get rich off the back of poor people. But I think there's benevolent rich people who see the value proposition and are hedging, who see kind of like what do you want them to do, right? Like
and the number one thing is the system can't be corrupted in general, anyways.
Right.
So whatever
Yeah.
people, that's the thing. Like yes, are there going to be winners and losers? Yes. Like there's winners and losers. Like this is a fallen earth and a broken earth. There's winners and losers. Like, however, Bitcoin is a tool that evens the playing field because it can't be corrupted by a small group of people. That's the problem. Like the main problem is that the dollar, which this system works on, as you like, the dollar buys groceries, the dollar pays rent, the dollar does the world stuff.
Right.
It's messed up. Like at the very foundation of it, it's messed up. And so that's like Bitcoin. So people that tell you that Bitcoin is savings technology are not telling you the whole story. People that tell you that Bitcoin is spending technology is not telling you the whole story. Like what we want to do is we want to tell the whole story. We want to tell the whole complex story of how it's a weird thing emerging in the world and lots of different people are finding different ways to create freedom with it because each one of us is really different. Each one of our daily needs, like we don't have any kids. Like that's not something like so our budget is going to look different than your guys' budget. But having one solid thing that's unchangeable can just work its way into the nooks and crannies of our lives and start to change the decisions we make. It's not a stock, it's money.
Right. Right. But the whole package of it all seems very stock market-ish. Like I know it's not stock, I know it's money, but if you're just buying it for the hopes that it's going to be something
Right.
one day,
that's not that exciting.
Right.
it's not exciting at all.
Because you're talking about one day. You want to know now.
Right, we need help. in
I'm
that.
Yeah.
raising a 10 and 12-year-old right now in the modern day world.
I don't have time to think about 20, 30
No.
years from now, your moon.
I-
Shut up.
no time for your moon right now. From an unselfish perspective, Bitcoin is doing something in the world right now for some people. I guess selfishly, I'm wondering what can it do for me?
How
Like
does that?
even that story with your mom. I thought that was a really beautiful story. Like your mom was trying to send money to her family in Egypt. Like she couldn't figure it out, especially because of this whole COVID thing. And then you were like, haha,
Would help.
we can help. And the next thing you know, family in Egypt is getting money.
Yeah. Facts.
So how do we bring the moon to us now?
We rope it.
Go on.
We get a rock boy. And then horse and put it on the No. We get a spaceship, right? Alright, we get a spaceship, right? We put a bunch of sats on it, a bunch of Bitcoin, right? You know,
This
we
is
get a
so
bunch
cool.
of we get a bunch of computers, right? Or a bunch of Bitcoin miners, right?
Okay.
And then we launch into space.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Alright, and we have like a 20 light year long rope.
That's a long rope.
And so
And we can't even get our financial system under control. We need to get in this rope.
You gotta. Well, okay, it's positive that he was getting cosmic. We have to get cosmic. We have to think bigger. Like
The parents are like, all right, he's like, no, he's on to something.
the world is broken. Like the current, like what he's saying, the current way doesn't work.
Yeah.
The current way doesn't work.
Right.
And so we do have to get cosmic. We do have to think bigger than the current way that like things feel stagnant.
Right.
And that's why Danielle's question of like, how does it help me now? It's like, yes, on the one hand, it's like a selfish question, but on the one hand, it's not a selfish question. Like everyone's asking that.
Right.
Everyone's asking that. And so, right.
Tell me what to do. It's good.